And we've yeah, so you don't need to define a range as you do this, and this allows you to compare many different activation functions. You can use saturating activation functions or unsaturating. You would still use the same procedure, and the mutual information values will still be comparable between the two. So this is kind of our empirical evidence towards why adaptive framework makes sense. And so this is the result. This is an individual initialization. So we see that with the previous estimation procedure, there is no compression. These things are going up, and they're actually breaking the data processing inequality because these layers no more than the last layer, which shouldn't be that.
Are these which one you need? Are these values?
These are values. Well, except for the last one. So this one is, the last layer is always softmax. Yes?
Sorry, how did you see that there is no compression? Exactly.
Because, well, it's quite difficult to see, but there are 3 lines here that are not the last line, and all of them are going straight. There's this squiggly thing, which is a bit strange, but this is a single initialization. So the papers that we saw in the last 2 weeks, they always showed you the average picture over 15 initializations, so their information planes always looked very smooth, and they made a lot of sense. But when you look at the single initialization, it can be a bit different. And this is the same initialization, but estimated with an adaptive framework, and suddenly we see that there's having more compression in the hidden layers than there is in the last one. And we said, well, okay, this is only binning. A lot of people don't like binning. We have kernel density estimation, it's non-parametric. People prefer it in the field, and there's a lot of work going into developing more frameworks to non-parametric estimation. And we said, well, before once again, we didn't see any compression happening with kernel density estimation. But the thing that was kind of strange is that there wasn't very much in the last layer as well, even though we kind of trust the binning for the last layer because it's always bounded, so it's difficult to get this wrong. And we decided to apply the same adaptive framework to kernel density estimation, because basically what it does is just adds a small Gaussian noise to the variable, and then it sort of estimates a smooth distribution over that using Gaussian kernels. But we still need to choose a Gaussian noise that we add, the variance of that noise. And the previous papers, they just said, okay, we're using this number, that's it. And we said, well, we'll use a number, but then we will scale it up for every layer of every epoch, depending on the maximum value that we see in that layer. And it was very simple, just that maximum value multiplied by this base rate that we've chosen. And then once again, you see that there is a lot of compression happening inside once you add noise everywhere that is proportional to the actual activity that you are estimating. So if a hidden activity has values of hundreds and you want to have 1% noise, then you add noise values that are 1. But if you have activities that are usually 1 or 2 in their magnitude, then you need to add, if you add the same noise there, then that will completely destroy your estimation. So you actually need to add the smaller noise, but it has to be of the same proportion for the two estimates to be comparable. And yeah, we just see the same picture here, and this is the same initialization from the previous picture. So both of these non-adaptive methods, they didn't show any compression. When you look at every variable individually, there is compression happening. And we called it AKD, so adaptive kernel density estimation. So we see that this initialization shows us compression in a Rayleigh network, but this is only one initialization. If we don't just average things out, what's actually happening inside all of these networks? And in another experiment, we've looked at all of these initializations individually rather than summing them up, And what we saw that there is a very, very wide range of behavior that's happening inside them. So in this picture here, for example, compression is happening first, but then fitting happens after that. In here, there's no compression, only fitting, and in here is just, there's nothing. It's just all of these values are just going up. No information is compressed or fitted, it's just the same thing. So there's a lot of difference that can happen inside your neural network from initialization to initialization. And if you take 50 initializations and you get initial information, then you actually don't see that. Because the average picture is just, nothing's really happening in ReLU networks. There's no compression, but there's no fitting, they're kind of stationary. But in fact, this one did compress a lot, but this one fitted a lot, and that's why everything got cancelled out.
So are these all equally performant, these three networks?
Yes, so the generalization is always comparable. So, when you do your network, you kind of find a configuration that just shows like a single.
Sure.
Once you choose all your hyperparameters, it's just the same thing all the time. It's actually under the hood. There's all of this strange behavior happening. And I thought that was very interesting. And we gave a hyperbolic tangent just to compare. So this is ReLU, no compression and nothing, and here we have strong compression. So maybe Sachs was right that once you take away the saturation, then fine. No, like saturation causes compression. And in order to check that, we've actually used 6 different activation functions, all of them without saturating regions. And they all look completely different to one another. So we have parametric ReLU, where instead of 0, we can kind of change so instead of having a strict 0, it's kind of like leaky ReLU, but it learns to adapt its slope. And we see even less compression here. But then for exponential linear unit, which is kind of shaped like an exponential, there is a lot of compression going on. This exponential linear unit looks way more like hyperbolic tangent than it does this ReLU. And even stranger are soft plus functions. So soft plus is like ReLU, but a smooth version of it. It kind of approximates ReLU. So when we just did soft plus, it didn't compress information, but then we said, well, okay, let's center soft plus to so that it goes through the origin, which some people do. And then suddenly we saw loads of compression. And actually this function was the only one that learned the task perfectly. And another one, Swish, so it has a bit of compression, but no fitting. So once again, it's different behavior. None of these have saturation, but all of them do very, very different things. So just saying that, if you don't have saturation, then you don't have compression. No, that's not the case at all. Every single activation value will give you something different. So just giving ReLU as a single case is not good, because you have all these other activation functions that can do very different things. So finding properties of these functions have a lot of effect on your trading dynamics. And another thing we've decided to play with is L2 regularization. Initially we did it to sort of prevent the subnetworks going crazy, like these small activation values running away, to compare how entropy versus non-entropy does.